John Wieners had a look at this manuscript, and I adore John Wieners. I adore John Wieners' work. I memorized his poems. I wandered around 4th Street, 4th Avenue, where all the bookstores were, and there'd be, at that time, 1963, 1962, 1964, there were these ephemeral mimeographed magazines. Remember mimeograph? And John had poems, and a lot of them, poems that he wrote just before Hotel Wentley poems, and I memorized those. And I was just beside myself with, on the edge of orgasm, that Diane de Prima wanted to print my manuscript and asked John to write the introduction to the poems. John came over, and he was leafing through the manuscript, and he got to that poem. And that last line, "creep away from the slinking hand," that was the most dramatic that I could have squeezed out of my veins. And he looked at me and gave this little impish smile and said that line and said, scratched his chin, "I wonder if there's some way we can make this more dramatic." And the 23-year-old reached across the table and slowly pulled the manuscript away from that man. Some people, you know, like to get to your tender spot and twist it. But John liked the book. Let's see if I can find that line, Jacqueline. Oh, there it is. "The angel-headed hipster," as Allan Ginsberg would say, that went out from the 50s. That dream is lost, as these poems testify. So what were we doing? It's as if the 50s, the late 40s and the 50s with the Beats, there was a battle. There was a surge of energy and belief in impulse and democracy and love and drugs and this country. It was a surge of that energy going against conventional life, against the straitjacket of the 50s. And it was very, very exciting. And I think the people who were doing that were excited all the time. Do you think they were?
Oh, yeah.
And me and my contemporaries, Alden Van Buskirk and John Page, who was John Seeley at the time, we were in a little eddy that came right after that tsunami. And we were before the hippies. It's like the hippies were, what? The surge of love that had those straitjackets removed, the Beats removed it, and then there's a surge of love and possibility and flowers and LSD and all this wonder. But these poems were written in the shadow of the Beats, in a quiet time where things weren't so beautiful as the Beats implied. Was John, when did All You Need Is Love come out from the Beatles? Is it 64? 64? And
more like
66 or 67? There we were, and it was obvious that love was not enough. Not enough. Something about the hard truths. We had some of the sense that there was a mission in writing poetry and writing things accurately, but not the exaltation. At least I don't find it in these poems. Maybe it was just me, huh? I remember Alex Rabin set up a reading on Washington Square Park in 1968 and invited Ginsberg to read, and he came and read, and we read our poems, and afterwards, Alex is here, he can tell me whether I'm remembering this correctly or not. Ginsberg said, "Why do you want to add more sadness to the world?"
Something like that.
That was pretty bourgeois of him, don't you think?
Something like that.
And your reply was great. It was said, "Allan, because there is sadness in the world."
I
And I-
remember that, but I'll take your word for it. That's something I would have said.
Yeah, there you go. And I think that says it. He was doing the battle, and he had to keep the facade going, and it paid him, and it made him famous. And here we were in the afterwash, in the reality. There's sadness in the world. Here's another love poem. Nighttime. I like most to smooch an hour or two, warm my hands kneading the doughy flesh of her belly, while we tease and kiss and get a little high on desire when she rolls my joint between her fingers. She being Medusa, I get hard as a rock almost, and turn her on her side to show her to advantage. Viewed from next her collarbone, she looks like a pin-up girl, all breasts, belly, and huge jutting hips. I put my cock in her after rubbing and knocking about the entrance a while until her cunt's warm and greasy. Squeeze her soft ass between my fingers and have a fantasy about sliding a steel blade in below her breast and digging the last convulsions of death. It's best when we jog along not quite hot enough to come, dreaming a long time. And when we've got to, I force my middle finger up her slick asshole till I feel my cock working around in there. My favorite thing is to rub her breasts with the free hand across my chest in the last moments when my whole body feels near to orgasm. Afterwards, she gives me a sly and trusting smile while I lay back tired and drowsy in the boredom of nothing more to desire. Really sad, yeah.